Hey guys, what's going on? It's Aimbot Remix from Aquatics Arts, and I'm bringing you guys a new text tutorial on how to make some really nice text in Cinema4D and then transferring it over into Photoshop. So to start off, I'm going to be in Cinema4D obviously, go down to MoGraph, MoText. So this opens a nice new blank text just like that, but this looks really plain and boring. So let's see. Yeah, I'll just leave it as text. Now I have a lot of fonts that you may not have, just because I've been digging through many different GFX packs, so I've collected them over the past month that I've been doing GFX. So let's see actually. Oops, what was that? Make this all caps. There we go. So let's say we like this text, just like that. Now what I would usually do is already add some depth to it. So I'm going to bring it all the way up to 80. And then this is where you copy paste. So Control C, Control V, right? But this time you turn it down to about, I would say 15 sounds about right. So then if I rotate it just like that, and then actually no, 15 is wait, sorry, never mind, this is a wrong tutorial. Bring it down all the way down to 1. Alright, and then you move it back a bit, and then you go to caps, fill a cap, and then turn these radii like down to 1, just like that. So what this does is it gives you like a spiky, you'll see it in the finished image. So we keep copy pasting in this, and you can like space them out however you like. What I usually like to do is have them make it look like it's much closer in towards the beginning, and then towards the end it starts spacing out, and it looks really nice. So you can already see here there's these like not indentations, but they come out, and basically when the finished text is rendered, it looks really clean. So let's say, for example, I'll give the main text, the first layer, the first one was 80 in depth. Make sure not to put any caps on this or anything. So that was 80 depth. I'm putting like a black color to it, and then what I like to do is for the different slides like that, I put different colors because it comes out really nice. And then obviously in Photoshop, I'll show you later, if you see that you don't like the colors, you can always change them. So let me just, there we go, leave that as white. And now usually this is where it comes down to whether or not I want to use Throwsy. So let's say right now I do want to use Throwsy, so I'm going to go into plugins, and I only use the main layer. Don't use any of the spike, like I'm gonna call this spiky layers. So just use the base one, and I'm gonna break it into between 30 and 40 pieces. I really like to have many different parts to each letter. That way it looks really clean. And let's see, just wait for this to break. So there we go. Now you open up, go down to this box right here, null. And you want to drag all 4, or depending on how many letters you have, the Throwsy files right there, you put it into the null, and then you go MoGraph, Effector, Random, and then you drag that in. And now when you click on Random, you go to Deformer, click this point. Now it looks a bit messy now, but there you go, you scale it down. And so what this does is it gives it a nice cracked effect to it. Obviously you can mess with it and go kind of crazy with this, because there's no limits to what you can do with Throwsy. So then if I render a small, let's see, just this letter, it'll give us an idea of what it looks like. Let's just wait for this to render. There we go. So it has a nice cracked surface on the gray, and you can see the different colors in the backgrounds, which looks really clean. But let's say right now I don't like this orange right here, and I want to swap it because I'm seeing this. I don't want this, I want that there. There we go. Okay, I like that much more. And now I'm going to zoom in as much as I can, making sure that all the letters fit into this box, because that's how it's going to be rendered. Render settings, I'm going to make it smaller. just so that's render quickly. And take off object glow, and then maybe later. Well, for now, I'll just go like this. Make sure always it has to stay into this like highlighted area, or else it won't render the full text. So that was an experiment I did using a Throwsy. So this was the first layer, this was the second. You can just tell how much Throwsy really makes it like completely. It's like almost destructive. Same thing here. This was the first one. That's the second, and it looks really nice in my opinion. Obviously, it depends on people's tastes, but for the most part, it's a really nice effect. I usually put the more Throwsy version of the text behind it. That way, it looks. For example, here, I would have put this in front on top of this one, and it gives it a nice, because you have these spikes coming off, all these points coming out behind the letters, and it's more or less the same shape since it's the same letters, it's the same word. So it looks really nice. There we go. So it's starting to render now. And you can tell. Obviously, you can do however you like, but for my personal preference, when I use either white or black for this base layer, I'm gonna call it, I always like to use different colors in the spiked portions, because it looks really nice. Because if not, it looks really plain. So I'm just gonna pause the recording right here, and I'll be right back once this is done. Alright, so we're back. Let me just check. Yeah, okay, so we're back, and this is the rendered text. There we go. Save text. Tut, I have it. There we go. This is another background I've been working on. I'm just gonna close all this. See, for example, right here, this is the complaint, and then I would drag this like that. I would scale it down a bit, but it looks really nice when it has the spikes all around the edges. So that's just a tip for the people that want to get a little more in depth with Throwsy. I am gonna save this. Sorry, like ahead of time. There's a lot of noise. My computer sounds like a freaking jet once I have all these programs running. So just like that. Alright, let's close this. Yeah, these are two really good packs that a good friend of mine passed over to me. So, actually, no, we don't need to do this. We can just open a new one. Let's see, Photoshop, CINEMA4D. So I have a lot of rendered images, as you can tell. I have probably at least over 100 images in CINEMA4D, but let's see, new 1280 by 720. Okay, and now what I'm gonna do now in here, what was I gonna do? Yes, I was gonna do cell render. So go right here. You can right click or go to click on effect, go to cell render, click not color, sorry, edges. You turn this white, this black, and now to make it render quickly, you can just select. Oh, another thing, to make your text really nice, you want to whenever these two are not already here, so let's say this is what you usually start with. You're like this. So if you want to have a really nice text, you want to click on global illumination as well as ambient occlusion, and this will have absolutely stunning text. So back to cell render, edges, make this white, make this black, and so now what this does is, you'll see, and it makes like an outline of it in this. I don't know how you could explain that, but save as text, cell render, open Photoshop, open. There we go. So let's drag both of these onto here. So just like that, I'm gonna put the black one on top, and then here, many people click on linear dodge add. It's always better to click screen. And what this, oops, wrong. wrong one, here we go. It's green. And so what this does is it takes off all the black part of the text. You can see if there's none of it, and then and it looks really nice, it looks really clean. So I'm just gonna turn the opacity down, because when it's too high it looks a bit to be honest, I don't like it like this. So usually I either completely erase on the sides, because I feel like it doesn't look very good. I'd prefer it only on the layer, or I just turn down the opacity to about 40, between 35 and 40%. Looks really nice because it doesn't stand out too much. I'm just gonna go ahead and merge it down, and then I'm gonna bring in this right here. I'm gonna put it in the, let's see, center this. So Control A, and then when you have this selected, you can center it like that, and then this goes behind. And so Control T, you transform it just like that, and you make it a bit bigger. I'm just gonna move it around. And then when you're satisfied, just, let's see. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. Just click enter, and there you go. So at this point, I'm just gonna turn this to screen as well. Oh, there's no background, so we'll make this black. There we go. And I'm just gonna turn the opacity down as well. That way it stands out, but not too much, so it doesn't bother you. Now this is where you can experiment, and you can do whatever you want. You can either use a gradient, so right here, gradient tool, and let's say, yeah, something like this, and then you have it on radial from the center out. It gives you a nice like that. You can either do that, or you can simply, oops, Control new layer. Oh yeah, and then if you want to fill without having to use the bucket every time, this color right here, so if I want the background to be red, I make this color red, and then I click Control backspace, and it fills it in. So that's just a quick tip, that's another shortcut. And what I would do here is I'd open another layer, and then using the brush, oops, this is one of my paint brushes. So I would just use a really big brush, maybe not this big, but I'm sure you get the idea. And it pretty much duplicates what we were doing before, but it's definitely better. The gradient is cleaner, so I'm just gonna do the gradient. There we go. So that looks really nice. And if you feel like this isn't exactly how you want it, you can always go down to Filter, Render, Lighting Effects, and here you can mess with the lighting. I'll show you, I'll give you a quick example. See, you can move around the light source, make it bigger, smaller, the intensity, it's all up to you. But no, I prefer how, there we go, I like that. Now, this is where you have to get stocks off the internet, which is usually what I do, or just download GFX packs. These are some, let's see, something that I've screenshots. Oh, it's extremely important to have overlays. Absolutely, like no doubt about it. Probably the first thing you want to get. What this does is essentially it puts a texture to your text. So I don't like that. Let's see. It's too small. That's what she said. Let's see. I'm gonna put. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. I like this. So then I would right click, rotate, and I'm gonna enlarge it a bit, holding shift. Make sure you hold shift, and this enlarges it equally. Okay, just like that. A little bit bigger. Okay. Now you put it over all of them, and I know it looks like it's covering it, but no worries. You hold down Alt, and in between the two layers, this little box should show up. You click, and it goes straight onto the text. Then you click go here, and select overlay, and it has that nice grungy texture to it, as you can see. And if you look without it, it changes the lighting. So let's say I don't like that, you can always mess not only with the opacity right here, so let's say I bring it down a bit, But you can, if you double click here on the text layer, you go to gradient overlay, change this to overlay, and you can change the way the lighting is. So let's say I want it to be like this, but it's too much. So like that. I like it because I'm gonna add a flare now. Flare. Let's see. Something I like. There we go. This is probably the one I use the most. So, click enter. Put that over again. No worries. Just alt click. And now make this screen once again. Can't really tell because of the background, but it's there. Let's see, because if I remove it, there you go. So you can see the difference. Or I could simply put it beneath the text. And you can, what I did with the gradient overlay for this one is I thought ahead. And because if there is no gradient overlay, it looks like the light source is coming straight forward. Instead, if I put it on, it looks like, it looks like it's coming from the bottom, and so it's a bit darker on top, which makes it look nice with the flare. So at this point, this is where you do whatever you want. I usually have many different stocks that I use. Things like space is overused in my opinion. So let's see. Well, actually, I'm not going to do that because if it's going to make this tutorial way too long. And well, this is pretty much it. This is how to make a nice text in CINEMA4D and then bringing it over into Photoshop. Oh, one last thing. Double click on the text again. Drop shadow. Extremely important. Not only makes it look nice, but you can leave the. I usually put it to 0 and then turn this up to 8, just like that, and it makes it really nice. And also, not inner shadow, inner glow. That gives it like a it surrounds the text. So if I make this black, there we go. So without, much better like this in my opinion because of the flare. But you can always play with the different options. And another last thing, I'm trying not to drag this out too long. If you see that there's this lines like this and you want to blend it in, you want to get a soft eraser and then bring this up to about 400, maybe 500. That way it blends it in much more than when you have a smaller eraser. So as you can see already, you're blending it in perfectly with the rest of the image without it looking too abnormal. So let's say you don't like the color of this flare, you click Control U, opens up the saturation options, and then here you can change the color of the flare. So I'm just gonna make it, let's see, orange, and then I'm turn this up a bit. Let's see. There we go, and that's exactly how I want my text to be. And so then I would go to File, Save for Web, and save. And there you go. So this is my tutorial. I hope this has helped you guys, especially in CINEMA4D, since a lot of people have been asking me to do a text tutorial, because it's really the most important thing in people's backgrounds. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and thanks for watching.